At the birthday party, my boyfriend casually peeled a shrimp for his ex-girlfriend. Everyone in the room held their breath and looked at me. After a slight pause, I put down my chopsticks. I started clapping and chanting, get together, then I nudged the person next to me. What are you waiting for? The mood's right here. They've got a kiss now, don't you think? On my 25th birthday, Simon Chadwick sent a message in our friends' group chat. Today's my baby's birthday. Usual spot, 6 p.m. Don't be late, everyone. I had just woken up when I saw the message. Many friends in the group tagged me, leaving us hanging like that. Spill the beans, damn, if you can't guess this, he's definitely planning something big. Leave it to our boss, Joe, to finally take the plunge. Ready to tie the knot? First a birthday gift, now an engagement gift. You gonna leave me any savings, man? Simon didn't reply further in the group, nor did he message me privately. Could he be planning a surprise? I sat up, staring at the screen, and replied with a cheeky dog emoji. I remembered last month he'd asked what kind of proposal I liked. He'd held me close, saying that when we got married, he wanted to sing me a romantic ballad, something tender and enduring like Eason Chan's Won't Let You Be Lonely Anymore. Back then, his eyes smiled, his voice thick with affection. If I sang that, don't you think the whole room would be moved? It seemed like the signs were there. I quickly got out of bed, showered, and started doing my makeup. If I was getting proposed to today, then I had to be the most beautiful woman in the room. By the time I arrived, most of the friends were already there. At the entrance stood a large pair of angel wings set into an entire wall of roses. The venue was decorated with extravagant luxury. There was even a painting at the entrance. It was a painting Simon had done the back view of a girl. Everyone assumed it was me, casting envious glances my way. You've gotta admit, Simon really knows romance. This setup is even more spectacular than last year's. Simon and I had been together for 2 years. He'd arranged my birthday party last year too. Truthfully, I'd never made a big deal out of my birthdays before, usually just a simple dinner with close friends. But he seemed to have this strange obsession with throwing birthday bashes. I remember when I suggested we didn't need one, his eyes suddenly dimmed. He gripped my hand tightly and asked if I didn't love him anymore. Thinking it was our first birthday together since we started dating, and seeing how much effort he was putting in, I nodded my agreement. Simon picked me up and spun me around several times, murmuring in my ear, I finally gave it to you. Indeed, Simon didn't make me regret it. Last year, the theme was daisies everywhere. The flowers meaning love hidden in the heart. It wasn't as lavish as today, but it still made me feel special. There was a painting at the entrance then too, a girl's side profile. It complemented today's painting. I've got a drone ready, if the proposal happens on the rooftop, I'll get the perfect recording. As everyone was chattering about this, Simon arrived, fashionably late. Except he had a woman following him. The lively room fell silent instantly. Closest to them was Chris Chandler, Simon's childhood friend. He let out a shocked, holy crap. I scanned the room. From their expressions, I could tell they knew this woman. Simon found a seat not next to me. From beginning to end, his eyes didn't linger on me for even a second. The woman followed him and sat down beside him. Then she greeted everyone generously. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all again. No one responded. The atmosphere became incredibly awkward. The woman looked past everyone towards me and extended her hand. Hello, I'm Serena Quincy. You must be Thea Sommers, right? Siyuan has mentioned you. Siyuan, such an intimate form of address. I swallowed the discomfort and shook her hand. Hello, welcome to my birthday party. Please enjoy yourself. She gave a faint, ambiguous smile and calmly sat down, but I distinctly heard her whisper a thank you to Simon. And he was busy adjusting the hem of her dress, the picture of quiet devotion. What that thank you meant, I didn't know. But from Simon's actions, I could see this woman was more important than his actual girlfriend. During the party, people tried to ease the awkwardness by drinking and chatting. Someone, emboldened by alcohol, stood up and loudly challenged Simon. What the hell is your deal, man? You called us here to celebrate your baby's birthday. Which baby? Which baby? It suddenly hit me. In our 2 years together, Simon had never called me baby. He liked calling me Ting Ting. Sometimes, while saying it, he'd add, "If only you were always this obedient." I'd playfully hit him, telling him to stop trying to manipulate me. He'd stub out his cigarette, pull me closer, his tone dangerously soft. "If you stay like this, I'll love you forever." The message he sent in the group chat today, combined with it being my birthday, made me assume he meant me. I quickly pulled out my phone and scrolled through last year's group chat history. It started the same way: "Today's my baby's birthday." So, who was baby? I looked up and met Serena Quincy's gaze. She still wore that composed, serene expression, as if she were the guest of honor. The guy who spoke up was pulled back down by others. Simon lounged in his corner seat, unhurriedly peeling a shrimp. Hearing the question, he glanced up nonchalantly. "Who do you think?" He didn't answer directly. But his ambiguous counter-question felt like an answer itself. His expression, his demeanor, his protective stance all confirmed his connection to Serena Quincy. Was she the unattainable love, or an ex-girlfriend? As my mind wandered, I saw him casually place the freshly peeled shrimp into Serena Quincy's bowl. Everyone in the room held their breath and looked at me. After a slight pause, I put down my chopsticks. I started clapping and chanting, get together," then I nudged the person next to me. "What are you waiting for? The mood's right here. They've got a kiss now, don't you think?" Four beside me, Chris Chandler frowned, about to stand up and mediate, but Serena Quincy beat him to it. She carried herself with an air of control, plucked the shrimp from her bowl, placed it into mine, and added with an apologetic smile, "Simon can be thoughtless. Don't mind him." How clever she was. With one simple action, a short sentence, she completely absolved herself, making it seem like I was the one making an unreasonable scene. Simon wiped his hands with a damp towel, pulled Serena back down to her seat, and looked at me, his tone chillingly cold. "Thea Sommers, what scene are you making?" What scene was I making? My boyfriend of 2 years brought another woman to my birthday party and peeled shrimp for her. I hadn't thrown a plate, hadn't screamed questions at him about who she was, and he was accusing me of making a scene. My nails dug deep into my palms. I fought back the stinging tears, controlled the tremor in my voice, and forced a smile. "Since I'm upsetting Mr. Chadwick, I'll take my leave." I picked up my bag. As I turned, Simon yelled, his voice tight with suppressed anger. "Sit down," 5 in my peripheral vision, I saw Serena tugging at his sleeve. "Thea, Siyuan is just like my brother. I just got back from out of town, and he was worried I'd be bored, so he suggested bringing me here for some fun. I should be the one leaving, don't you two fight because of me. Siyuan, it's Thea's birthday. Stop acting like a child, just let it go." But Simon grabbed her wrist instead, frowning, "Today is your birthday too." The string inside me finally snapped. So that was it, everything made sense now. This birthday party wasn't for me at all, it was for her. Those large paintings weren't of me, they were of her. And I was just a joke, thinking all this was a surprise prepared for me. Thinking Simon would propose to me in front of everyone today, I suddenly remembered our first meeting. I dropped my ID, and Simon picked it up. The shocked look on his face when he saw my birth date. He'd trembled, asking if the date was real. I thought it was strange back then. Why would it be fake? It was supposed to be a blind date arranged by our parents, just going through the motions. But after that, Simon started appearing frequently in my life. He pursued me relentlessly, even buying out advertising space on a major city landmark, looping messages declaring his affection for me. Naturally, this became hot gossip in our circle. Everyone said the aloof young Master Chadwick had finally fallen. I remember when I agreed to be his girlfriend, he held me and said, "What I couldn't give you before, I'll make up for it now." I thought he meant birthdays, anniversaries. All the fragmented memories pieced together into a complete story. Looking back now, the signs were always there. I was just too slow to see them. A tear escaped, but I quickly wiped it away. I wanted to throw a drink in Simon Chadwick's face, curse him out. I wanted to destroy all the decorations here, declare to the world that Thea Sommers would never be anyone's substitute. But surprisingly, I felt calm. I heard my own voice, seemingly coming from far away. Simon Chadwick were breaking up. Not a question, not a negotiation. A statement. As I reached the door, I finally heard Simon's trembling voice. He said, "I don't agree." 6, but 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds passed. He still didn't follow me out. An image of our first date flashed in my mind. He held flowers, looking as endearingly awkward as an inexperienced boy. He took me to a movie that day. There was a line at the end of the film, "May the one you love be the one beside you." Hearing this, Simon suddenly squeezed my hand, his gaze intense as he looked at me. He said, "Thea Sommers, can you stay by my side forever?" His eyes were full of tenderness and deep affection. I thought he truly loved me, that's why he wanted a promise. But thinking back now, it was because a girl had left him sometime in the river of his life. Last year's Grand Daisy celebration, themed Love Hidden in the Heart, was just an excuse, using my birthday to declare his love for the girl who truly mattered to him. He finally announced his hidden love to the world under my name. So, ultimately, I was just a pastime for his lonely moments. Thankfully, I still had my dignity and composure. I'd used all my strength to say goodbye. Still, I felt sick. 7 As I walked out, I received a message from Chris Chandler. "This whole thing is complicated. Do you still want to hear about it?" I replied. "No thanks. Since it's over, there's no need to know the details." But thank you, Chris. Whether he had difficulties or hidden reasons, I didn't want to know anything more about Simon Chadwick. Head down, replying to the message, I bumped into someone. As I stumbled, strong hands steadied me. Clutching my phone, I looked up, still shaken. A man wearing a baseball cap and a black mask looked down at me. Before I could regain my footing, someone seemed to be chasing us from a distance. Before I could react, he grabbed my hand and started running. He seemed familiar with the place. We twisted and turned, got into an elevator, and went straight to the rooftop. When we finally stopped, I was completely out of breath. He took off his mask. A familiar face was revealed. I was stunned. He gave a slight smile. "Long time no see, old classmate. What, you don't recognize me?" Ethan Kingsley. He was Ethan Kingsley, the most popular singer in the entertainment industry. He'd written many hit songs back in university. In 7 years, he'd climbed to the top tier, but we hadn't been in touch since high school graduation. What a coincidence. What are you doing here? Looking for inspiration? He winked at me. My new album is missing its final title track. Still need lyrics. Small world. We were desk mates in high school, but my main memories of him were his essays always earning praise from the teacher. Other than that, high school was a blur of endless homework and cram sessions. Our school was private, mostly attended by wealthy kids. I'd heard back then that Ethan Kingsley was scouted by the principal from another school, given a full scholarship, and had his tuition waived for 3 years. The Ethan Kingsley I remembered seemed quiet, didn't talk much. After graduation, we went our separate ways. He skyrocketed to fame as a popular singer, yet somehow he remembered me, his old classmate. I didn't quite understand how songwriters found inspiration. But right now, I had my own problems to deal with, so I planned to say goodbye. Unexpectedly, I heard Simon's voice from afar. With nowhere to retreat, I pulled Ethan into a nearby corner to hide. It was Chris's voice. "I seriously don't get why the hell you brought her here." Simon took a drag from his cigarette, frowning. "Chris, watch your tone. She's my sister," Chris scoffed. "Sister? Simon Chadwick, don't think I don't know about what happened between you two back then." Seeing Simon remain silent, Chris continued. "She's just the adopted daughter your mom sent her away precisely because you two developed feelings you shouldn't have. Since she's been gone for years, why come back now? Shut up." Simon stubbed out his cigarette and ground it under his heel. Chris looked exasperated. "Your family has repaid whatever debt they owed. I don't understand what you're trying to achieve now." "It can never be fully repaid," Simon said faintly. "If it were that easy, things wouldn't be like this." but you couldn't control the car accident. You haven't celebrated your birthday in years because of it. Even if it was for Serena Quincy, that should be enough. Simon fell silent for a moment, then sighed. Chris, I can't live without her. Then what about Thea Sommers? Is she somehow at fault? Hearing my name perhaps, Simon paused before replying, It's fine. Thea just needs a little coaxing and she'll be okay. Chris suddenly became agitated. Coaxing? Who do you think Thea Sommers is? Are you even human? Simon cut him off irritably. Let's go. It's the first time in years celebrating my sister's birthday. Don't keep her waiting, Chris sneered. Sorry, she's no friend of mine. We all came because of Thea. If you want to play the saint, do it yourself. I'm out. With that, Chris strode away. Simon hesitated for a moment, then followed, until their footsteps completely faded away. I leaned against the wall, nearly collapsing. Simon never celebrated his birthday. I used to think it was out of respect for his mother, not wanting to be reminded of the day she suffered giving birth to him. Turns out he didn't celebrate because of Serena Quincy. My phone suddenly vibrated. A message from Simon? Ting-ting, she's my sister. Stop throwing a tantrum. Are you done making a scene? If so, come back. 9. I immediately deleted and blocked all of Simon's contact information. Unexpectedly, tears started dripping onto the screen, blurring the words. Chris's message popped up. I'm not defending Simon, I just think you should know the truth. Memories flooded my mind. It seemed to be drizzling that day when I went to his house. His mood was low. I assumed it was the weather. Then I heard from Chris that his birthday was coming up, so I curled up in his lap like a kitten. Mr. Chadwick, I hear your birthday's soon. What do you want? Your exclusive sweetheart is online, limited time offer, make a wish. But he remained distant, especially becoming agitated when I mentioned his birthday. Seeing him silent, I tried everything to make him laugh. He looked at me for a long while, then suddenly held me tight. Thea Sommers, swear you'll never leave me. His sudden reaction confused me. He insisted, You won't. I shook my head. Why? He had something on his mind, but he wouldn't say. But I wanted to know. He clasped my hand, pressing it against his chest. The strong, rhythmic beat resonated through me, blending with his words, making it hard to distinguish reality from dream. Swear you won't leave me, he said, his voice low and husky, as if shrouded in mist. Even if you leave, it'll only be for a little while and you'll come back. I don't want to celebrate my birthday. It's full of bad memories. I just want you. He was relentless, making me repeat his words verbatim. He even recorded it. I swore the oath. But the person who broke the promise was the one I had loved with all my heart. How ridiculous. For a moment, I felt plunged into an icy abyss. It was supposed to be spring, but I felt chilled to the bone. Suddenly, a pair of long, slender hands appeared before me. I took the tissue Ethan Kingsley offered, looking up at him through tear-blurred eyes. He didn't speak, just watched me quietly. But why did the tears keep flowing, no matter how much I wiped? After a long pause, Ethan finally spoke. It's the birthday girl's big day, no crying allowed. I gave a bitter smile. I never want to celebrate my birthday again. What terrible luck. He glanced down at his watch. Don't worry, there's still time. For what? Still time to treat you to some birthday noodles. 10. We ended up in a small alley near our old high school. The owner saw Ethan Kingsley and greeted him, back again? As casually as if they were old friends. He glanced at me beside Ethan and smiled knowingly. You brought her? Ethan just nodded. The owner chuckled and went to prepare the food. Ethan pulled out some tissues and wiped down the stool for me. I quickly waved my hand. It's okay, really. He continued silently, wiping both my stool and the table. Feeling rather awkward, I tried making small talk. Do you come here often? Yeah, frequently during high school. Later, I got too busy. But whenever I'm back occasionally, I come here. I'm not very outgoing, so after that exchange, silence fell between us again. Even though we were desk mates for 3 years, Ethan and I felt like parallel lines that would never intersect. He was a superstar now, while I was, unimpressive, just a young woman still hoping her boyfriend would propose. Especially since he just witnessed my embarrassing breakup. Seeing my silence, he poured me a glass of water. Are you in fashion design? I nodded. Yes, just messing around with it as a hobby. Back in school, when my mind wandered during class, I used to sketch designs in my notebook. But how did he know? I have a concert here in 2 months. If it's convenient, could I invite you to be my costume designer? Me. Perhaps sensing my confusion, Ethan pushed the water closer. Because the concert theme is back to the past, and well, we knew each other in high school. So that was the reason. I bit my lip. He offered a gentle, reassuring smile. Don't doubt yourself. I used to see the designs you sketched back then. They were really good. So, he had seen them. I instantly wanted the ground to swallow me whole, utterly mortified. Those were just spur-of-the-moment doodles. And crucially, done when I wasn't paying attention in class. I thought top students were fully focused on studying. Turns out, he was multitasking too. My drawings weren't that great. It's a huge concert for you. What if I mess up? People might criticize you, right? It's fine. You're the most suitable person. Since he put it that way, refusing seemed overly dramatic. Besides, burying myself in work seemed like a good way to distract myself. I agreed. But then I realized I didn't seem to have his contact information. This was awkward. I reluctantly took out my phone. Would you mind if I added you? Ethan pulled his phone from his pocket. I assumed he was getting his QR code ready. But the next second, my phone vibrated. A message from an unsaved contact with a black profile picture. I'm here. 11. The awkwardness intensified. When did I add him? I had absolutely no memory of it. Since I don't like changing contact names and don't regularly clean up my contact list, I hadn't noticed he was even there. Just then, the noodles arrived, steaming hot. I buried my face in the bowl, trying to eat away the intense embarrassment. The noodle shop was nearly empty this late at night. The silence was almost deafening. After finishing, I said goodbye to Ethan, but he insisted on walking me home. Once home, I opened his profile. I noticed there was no moments or timeline section. Was this a secondary account? But just as I backed out, I saw his profile picture appear in my feed. I clicked on it. It was a photo of the moonlit sky. His caption, "Happy birthday. Still time." When I clicked his profile again, the moments section appeared. So this was his first ever post. I liked it. As I was getting ready for bed, a friend request popped up. It was Serena Quincy. I ignored it, but she persisted. Annoyed, I finally accepted. Messages quickly flooded in. If our relationship caused a misunderstanding, I can explain. I found it rather amusing. Why not explain earlier instead of contacting me privately now? I didn't reply. She sent another. We're just like brother and sister. There's no need for you two to reach this point because of me. Retreating to advance. She seemed fond of this tactic. At the party, she acted completely blameless, like an innocent bystander, giving no one grounds for criticism. Yet every word she uttered stuck in my throat. If I got angry, it would confirm I was petty, deliberately embarrassing Simon in public. If I didn't get angry, I couldn't swallow my pride. When I welcomed her to my birthday party, that blatant smile of hers. It was just her way of telling me that everything I thought was prepared for me was actually because of her. Without her, there would be no party. Furthermore, Simon wouldn't have chosen me. Undeniably, she was a clever woman. However, she underestimated me. I wouldn't demean myself over a man. But the next second, she sent a picture. He's been drinking a lot since you left. If it's my fault, I apologize. In the photo, Simon's head rested on her lap, his brow furrowed. It was unclear if he was asleep or just drunk. See? How skillful she was. Ostensibly apologizing, but actually showing off. Showing off that she was the one by his side when he was at his lowest. Every word avoided love, yet every sentence screamed it. I found it utterly pointless. Why did their love-hate drama have to drag me into this mess? Another voice message popped up. I played it. It was Simon's voice. Thea Sommers, why did you delete me? Don't you have relatives? Don't you have brothers and sisters? Thea Sommers, don't go. The message cut off abruptly. What came after, I didn't know, nor did I care to know. You were the one who slapped me in the face first. You were the one who embarrassed me publicly. You were the one who trampled on my genuine feelings. What kind of act were you putting on now? Simon Chadwick, if the love you gave me was just someone else's leftovers, I'd rather have nothing than degrade myself. I replied, quite the performance. You're both good actors. Then I deleted her contact, but she sent me a text message. I taught him all his firsts. Love can fade with the wind, but family ties don't. Truly disgusting. Using the guise of family to do such outrageous things. I typed out a reply. If you were really that capable, why would you need to tell me all this? People love to flaunt what they lack. But just as I was about to send it, I hesitated. This was exactly what she wanted to provoke me, to make me say something she could show Simon, proving I still cared about him, proving how desirable he was under her tutelage. I deleted the message and sent instead, "Oh, well, I wish you two a long and happy sibling relationship." Then I blocked her number. 12 days passed. Due to the costume design work, I started spending more time with Ethan Kingsley. He seemed to have cleared his schedule, focusing solely on preparing for the concert in our city. To help me find inspiration, he accompanied me back to our high school campus and many other places. Traveling with a celebrity was indeed complicated. Every time, he had to be fully disguised, only his eyes visible. I told him it wasn't necessary, that I could manage on my own. But he insisted, creation is a two-person job. He explained that many of his songs were inspired by real people and events. Ashamedly, I hadn't listened to Ethan's music properly, so I couldn't really comment. So, the logic is the same. With me around, you have more space for imagination. Since he put it that way, I couldn't refuse further. One day, deciding it was time to officially start the project, I suggested we go up to the chapel in the hills for some quiet reflection and maybe light a candle for good luck. I never expected to run into Simon Chadwick there. From afar, I saw him holding her handbag. She held a large incense stick, about to place it in the burner. Perhaps it was too hot, her hand jerked back slightly. Seeing this, Simon immediately grabbed her hand, brought it to his lips and blew on it gently. She looked at him with a smile, pouting slightly. "I'm fine." Simon still looked concerned, frowning, treating her hand like a precious treasure. "I have to be responsible for your safety." Perhaps sensing someone watching, he turned his head and his gaze met ours. His smile vanished. After a moment of shock, he dropped Serena Quincy's hand and walked towards me, still awkwardly carrying the woman's handbag. "Ting Ting, what are you doing here?" Seemingly noticing the bag, he quickly hid his hands behind his back, flustered. Then, noticing Ethan's presence, his expression changed. "You came here with another man. I'm actually a little superstitious. Whenever my studio gets a new project, I tend to visit places like this, seeking some solace and hope." I had mentioned it to Simon before, but he'd scoffed, calling it futile superstition. When I playfully asked him to accompany me, he excused himself, saying men shouldn't go to such places or their luck might change. I never brought it up again. How ironic it seemed now. 13, seeing I had no intention of explaining, he grew anxious first. "I was just accompanying my sister." The words trailed off. I finished for him. "Simon Chadwick, that has nothing to do with me." I nodded to Ethan, intending to go elsewhere, but Simon blocked my path. "You found someone new behind my back?" His tone was full of accusation. I looked at him without speaking. He laughed self-mockingly. "Impossible. You love me so much, you even swore an oath." Remembering that recording, I clenched my fists. "Simon Chadwick, we already broke up. Please stop bothering me." SIMON Chinese letter was taken aback for a moment. "We're just brother and sister. Don't you believe me?" At this, Ethan stepped forward, shielding me. "Then may I ask, are your names legally listed as siblings?" Simon's face paled. Serena walked up from behind him, adopting a generous posture. "We were just passing by and decided to stop in. Don't misunderstand. If you feel I'm in the way, I'll leave first. Siyuan, you should properly coax Ting Ting." Simon looked at her, then back at me, his voice heavy. "Thea Sommers, how long are you going to keep this up?" Just moments ago, he was apologizing, now seemingly convinced that a simple sorry would make me forgive him. Combined with Serena's tactic, he became even more certain that they were innocent and that I was deliberately holding onto this issue. I was about to speak, but Ethan spoke first. If you're just siblings, why do you keep emphasizing it? If you're afraid of misunderstandings, why doesn't she maintain a proper distance? Repeated misunderstandings like this start to look intentional. His words hit home. Simon froze. Serena's expression stiffened. I added, Miss Quincy, since you taught Simon all his firsts, perhaps you should also teach him how to be a proper ex-boyfriend. This was directed at her, and at Simon too. As I turned to leave, Simon grabbed my wrist, his eyes red. Ting, don't go, don't leave me. I pulled my hand free. Simon Chadwick, have some self-respect. 14 on the way down the hill, I apologized to Ethan. After all, he was my client, and getting dragged into this misunderstanding felt unfair. Ethan expressed understanding, told me not to overthink it, and just focus on my work. Remembering that recorded promise still felt like swallowing a fly. Perhaps my emotions were bottled up. I hesitantly asked him, "Do you believe in promises?" He paused, then smiled faintly. Promises lose some of their weight when you have to state them outright. I was slightly taken aback. Life is long. Some people only walk with you for a part of the journey. If everyone could promise their love would never fade, the world wouldn't be full of so many lovesick fools. I sighed. Falling in love hurts so much. It feels like my heart has cracked open. The moment the words left my mouth, I covered it. How could I say these things to him? It felt like I was overstepping boundaries. About to apologize, Ethan gently pulled me towards the mountainside, looked down, his eyes soft. A crack in the heart is how the light gets in. So, that was another way to look at it. Ethan Kingsley, so optimistic. But thinking back, he seemed like this in high school too. It felt like he hadn't changed at all. A few days later, Chris sent me a video. In it, Simon's studio was filled with paintings of all sizes. All of me. And Simon looked like he was going mad, constantly muttering my name. It seemed he finally realized I wasn't just playing games, that I had really broken up with him. Before Serena Quincy reappeared, he had actually been a decent, even great, boyfriend. I used to think that for families like ours, marriage was inevitably about choosing someone suitable for merging resources and maximizing benefits, often leading to loveless unions where spouses led separate lives. Meeting Simon made me think, maybe with him, it could be different. The 2 years we spent together were happy, but once a crack appears in a relationship, it can never be fully repaired. Serena Quincy was the thorn. Not removing it meant constant pain in the heart. Removing it meant serious damage, equally painful. I didn't want to make that choice. So, breaking up seemed the cleaner, albeit painful, option. Thea, we only acknowledge you. Can you give him a chance to make it up to you? I can tell he really loves you. But he loved someone else at the same time he loved me. I closed the video. I messaged Chris back. Life isn't a lottery ticket where you get endless chances to start over. Simon Chadwick, this is where our road ends. 16, I threw myself into the design work. Unexpectedly, I received a call from Serena Quincy. Her voice on the line finally lost its composure. Please, meet with Simon just once. I found it somewhat amusing. Wasn't this the outcome she wanted? Sorry, I don't keep in touch with exes. Just as I was about to hang up, his voice suddenly came through the phone. Is that my ting-ting? He had been trying to call me from various numbers recently, all of which I had ignored. I truly didn't want to be caught in the middle of their drama, engaging in pointless emotional turmoil. His voice came through clearly now. Ting-ting, I love you. It's you I love. Can you please not leave me? You promised you wouldn't leave me. Clutching the receiver, I said calmly, Simon Chadwick, people change. I haven't changed. These 2 years with you were the happiest of my life. Hit me, yell at me, do whatever you want, just don't leave me, okay? Don't abandon me again, please. That word, again, made me physically uncomfortable, and we both knew who the previous abandonment referred to. Stop looking for me, we both need to move forward. As I was about to hang up, Serena Quincy's laughter, tinged with sadness, came through. "Thea Sommers, you win." In the following days, Simon even dragged our breakup into family matters. To maintain appearances, I simply told my parents we weren't compatible. But Simon's parents also tried to persuade me. They had genuinely liked me before. It was from them that I finally learned the full story. 17, I went to see Simon Chadwick. He asked to meet at the amusement park, the place of our second date. Back then, when the Ferris wheel reached its highest point, he kissed me. But now, things remained, but people had changed. He had made an effort today, even shaving the beard seen in the video. He had even booked the entire amusement park. Seeing me arrive, he handed me a bouquet of flowers. I actually dislike fresh flowers. They wilt too easily. But he didn't know that. The one who liked flowers could only be Serena Quincy. I used to think that if families like ours were destined for arranged marriages, at least not disliking the person would be acceptable. Now, with him, I couldn't even muster dislike or non-dislike. In just 2 short months, one's feelings could change so drastically. Ting, let's go ride the Ferris wheel. He deliberately avoided mentioning the recent events, as if pretending nothing happened would erase it. But how could it? Mrs. Chadwick had said she only acknowledged me as her daughter-in-law, that Serena Quincy would never marry into the Chadwick family. But we both knew, what's lost is lost forever. I just found Simon somewhat pitiful, like a string puppet manipulated for so many years. Serena Quincy was the daughter of the Chadwick family's driver. Simon's parents were busy, rarely spending time with him. On the night of his 12th birthday, his parents didn't show up either. Perhaps to vent his frustration, he asked the driver to take the whole family driver, wife, Serena, to the amusement park with him. The park was actually closed by then. That night, the car crashed. The 2 adults in the front died instantly, leaving behind a 12-year-old Simon and a 15-year-old Serena. Simon blamed himself. To make amends, the Chadwicks adopted Serena. From that day on, Simon never celebrated his birthday again. And because her parents died, no one celebrated Serena's birthday either. I didn't know exactly what happened during those years. At 18, Serena and 15-year-old Simon developed inappropriate feelings for each other. The Chadwicks discovered it promptly and sent Serena abroad to study. She later stayed overseas. I didn't know if they had contacted each other during their years apart. During those 3 years of living together, comforting each other, they must have been licking their wounds. One, the driver's daughter, the other, the wealthy young master. Combined with parental disapproval, it only made their bond deeper. And because girls generally mature earlier, during that crucial time of forming values and outlooks, Serena must have heavily influenced Simon. But none of that mattered anymore. Simon Chadwick was a child who refused to grow up, but I didn't want to play Serena's role and help him mature. Even if she had truly helped him grow up, what then? He fell in love with me, only to waver between her and me. I remembered Mrs. Chadwick's words. Why did we send her away? Because she was truly manipulative. Siyuan was being led astray by her. No, that wasn't it. Hate lasts longer than love. Serena Quincy understood that better than I did. 18, or we could just look at the Ferris wheel where we first kissed. He mentioned it carefully, his eyes pleading. Men Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, so contemptible, pathetic sometimes. When you're good to them, they take it for granted. When they can no longer control your emotions, they regret it. I wasn't here today to reminisce. I was here to say goodbye to the past. Some things needed to be said face to face. Simon Chadwick let go. I don't love you anymore. No, you do. I shook my head. When love is gone, it's gone. I don't want to lie to you, and I hope you can let go of the past and move forward too. Simon didn't really understand love, perhaps due to his childhood experiences. Ting, don't leave me. I'll change. I won't contact Serena Quincy anymore. I've already sent her away. Simon Chadwick, the biggest problem between us isn't Serena Quincy. I looked into his eyes. It's your attitude, your wavering emotions. I paused, then continued. I, Thea Sommers, need a love that is whole and complete. Even if a heart has cracks from the past, it needs to be swept clean before inviting someone new in. And he, unable to let go of me, yet simultaneously burdened by remorse towards Serena, his lips trembled, he pointed to his heart. "I've cleaned it out, there's only you here now." "No, thank you. Save it for the next person." He reached out to touch my hand, but I dodged sideways. "Simon Chadwick, when we were together, I did think about marrying you." His eyes instantly reddened. "I'm sorry, Ting Ting. I actually felt quite calm now. I even dressed up stunningly for the birthday party, specifically to accept your proposal." He ran his hands through his hair in anguish, staring at me fixedly. "You said you'd only leave for a little while, that you'd come back. Come back now, please. I'll spend the rest of my life making up for the hurt I caused you." Remembering what Ethan Kingsley said that day, I looked at him and smiled faintly. Simon Chadwick, promises only count for those who make it to the end together. A tear finally slid down his cheek. "I've completely lost you, haven't I?" I didn't answer. Time would give us the answer. 19 Simon Chadwick never bothered me again. I threw myself into the final preparations for the concert. However, as the date drew nearer, I felt increasingly anxious. Ethan gently reassured me, "Don't worry, what I like, my fans will like too. Besides, they're coming to hear my songs." Somehow, hearing his words always brought a sense of calm. He seemed to possess a kind of magic. Being around him made people feel gentler. But I still hadn't finalized the costume for his final title track. Because Ethan said it was unreleased and needed to be kept secret, he told me to use my own judgment. But I knew so little about Ethan Kingsley. Suddenly remembering the noodle shop owner's words, I went back just before closing time. The owner still recognized me. "Little Jiang didn't come today?" I nodded. Seeing the shop was empty, I asked, "Did he used to come here often?" Seeing no other customers, the chubby owner sat down to chat with me. "Yes, he did." Then he looked at me and smiled. "Waiting for you? Waiting for me? Looks like he hasn't won you over yet." This is the road you always took home. Your family driver's car would park right outside my shop. You'd get in here and little Jiang would watch you from here." "How do you know?" The owner chuckled. "Like clockwork every week, how could I not know?" I froze. Ethan Kingsley. Watching me, an incomplete thought formed in my mind. Trembling, I asked, "The date I came here 2 months ago. Did he come last year on that date too?" The owner nodded. "It's your birthday, right? He comes every year, orders 2 bowls of noodles. Only this year, he finally wasn't alone." My mind flashed back to bumping into him at the hotel that night, how familiar he seemed with the place. So, was he at the birthday party venue last year too? The owner continued, "You must be surprised, right? Why you never knew after all this time. We chatted once, and he mentioned your family was well off, while he was just a poor kid. He spent all these years just trying to be able to stand beside you as an equal. The year before last, he came here to eat, crying alone. He said he was just about to confess, but the girl he liked already had a boyfriend." I stood there, stunned. He said, "As long as you were happy, just seeing you from afar was enough." Suddenly, I remembered a line from a poem by Bayan Jilin. "You stand on the bridge watching the scenery. The watcher of scenery watches you from the balcony. The bright moon adorns your window, you adorn another's dream." So, the moonlit photo Ethan posted that day, was it because I was his dream? 20 after leaving the noodle shop, I rushed home and rummaged through the storage room for my old high school textbooks. After a long search, I finally found those sketches tucked inside my physics book. Damn physics. I was a science student, and physics was my weakest subject. I once achieved the stellar score of 27. When the test paper was handed back, Ethan Kingsley glanced over. I quickly covered it with my hand and flipped it over. My face, buried in my arms, turned bright red. I remembered Ethan later showed me his notes, saying I could ask him if I didn't understand anything. He even took my book to highlight key points. But I was just naturally uninterested in physics, so I daydreamed through every physics class. And the sketches Ethan saw were mostly drawn during those classes. There was a stack of papers. I smoothed them out one by one. Ethan was quite handsome as a teenager. I had used him as a model for reference when I drew before. I found the slightly yellowed pages. Nothing seemed different until I flipped them over. I discovered a formula written on the back of many draft papers. 128 square root E 980, remembering Ethan highlighting my physics book and knowing no one else borrowed it. He must have written it. What did it mean? I took out my phone and searched online. The first results showed 128 square root E 980, I love you, it's an abstract formula. Erase the top half to get the result. And on the back of every single sheet was this message. So, Ethan Kingsley had a crush on me back in high school. He just felt the gap between us was too large, so he didn't dare confess. He's such a fool. I'm terrible with numbers. How would I ever notice this formula? He's such a fool. How could someone like a person for so long? Clutching the sketches tightly, tears streamed down my face. 21, I dialed his number. Neither of us spoke. After a long moment, he asked, "You know now." Covering my face, I nodded silently through my tears. Don't feel burdened. Don't pity me. I did it all willingly. You're such a fool. Why didn't you tell me? I'm just glad I could finally meet you properly this year. But I just broke up. I'm not ready. You don't need to respond, he said. I don't want love to be a burden. I didn't know what to say. Last year, were you there too? A soft chuckle came from the other end. From 6 p.m. to midnight, 6 hours. I walked every floor from the first to the 32nd. Even the security guard doesn't know the floor tiles as well as I do. But what if I hadn't broken up? Ethan was silent for a moment, then said, Thea Sommers, no matter who you end up with, I just hope you'll be happy. He was so gentle. The tears wouldn't stop. It turned out that in this world, besides my parents, someone really could love me without expecting anything in return. I spent the whole night listening to Ethan Kingsley's songs. Ashamedly, I'm musically inept. Even when his songs were huge hits years ago, I never paid close attention, always feeling like we were from different worlds, far, far apart. His first big hit was Her Eyes. Her eyes, curved and round, one glance and I was lost. There was another called Your Smile. Longing to hold your hand, yet fearing I'm not enough. Your smile, if only it belonged just to me. 22, and all those songs were performed at the concert the next day. With every song Ethan Kingsley sang, his gaze found its way to me. Until the end, when he sat on a high stool, microphone in hand. This last song is the title track from the new album. It hasn't been released yet. Cheers erupted throughout the venue. Ethan put a finger to his lips. SHH. The fans obediently quieted down. I felt his gaze lock onto me. I instantly held my breath. Ethan continued, This song, I want to sing it for the girl I like the most. The melody began, he sang softly. Crossing mountains and rivers, 10 years passing. Only now do I finally find the courage to say to you, long time no see. The song finished. As the melody faded, Ethan looked straight into my eyes. The spotlight hit my face. I met his burning gaze. I heard him say, Thea Sommers, this song is called The Confession. He had used 10 years, step by step, to walk closer to me. Every song he wrote held a shadow of me. Looking at the brilliantly shining Ethan Kingsley on stage, my eyes welled up again. He walked down from the stage, step by step, towards me. But I knew that each step he took now represented the 10 years he spent closing the gap between us. It wasn't that he hadn't thought of confessing. It was that he felt he wasn't worthy of me yet. The poor boy from back then was now a top-tier celebrity. Maybe I wasn't worthy of him. How did I deserve a man's devotion for so long? How did he endure all those years of dim, unrequited love? That long time no see on the rooftop did it take all his strength to say. And now, Ethan Kingsley had reached the floor, surrounded by the roaring crowd. He stood there, his eyes gentle and affectionate, as if the air around him had stilled. Then he held out his hand. Thea Sommers, hello, my name is Ethan Kingsley. The man before me and the boy from my memories gradually merged. I suddenly remembered 10 years ago, the first time we became desk mates. The sun shone brightly outside, the breeze rustled the curtains, laughter filled the air. I shook his hand and smiled, Ethan Kingsley, hello. My name is Thea Sommers. Simon Chadwick's epilogue. I was there at the concert, witnessing that grand confession. I suddenly remembered, just over 2 years ago, I had declared my love for her just as publicly. Back then, her cheeks were as red as apples. Honestly, I hadn't planned on going to the blind date. I was waiting for Serena Quincy to atone. But the first time I met Thea Sommers, I fell for her instantly. Finding out her birthday was the same as Serena's even felt like a sign from heaven. I tried dating her. After age 15, I felt like a walking corpse. But being with Thea, I felt like I had come back to life. Chris found me right away, said he was happy for me, that I could finally move on and start fresh. He said Thea was a good girl, hoped I would treat her well. During my time with her, I almost forgot about Serena again. Sometimes, thinking back to our younger days together felt like a distant dream. I suddenly feared loss. I made Thea swear she wouldn't leave me. I couldn't bear being abandoned again. She swore. I was content. But I'm truly pathetic. When I threw her first birthday party, my mind was filled with images of Serena crying in front of me. 15-year-old her saying to me, "It's all because of you. No one will ever celebrate my birthday again. I have no family anymore. Why don't you just die?" Her face was streaked with tears. Her voice trembled uncontrollably. I was only 12 then. If I hadn't been so stubborn, would she still have a family? She had loving parents who died because of me. I had living parents who didn't seem to love me. Life is ironic sometimes. I carefully asked her, "Can I celebrate your birthday for you to make amends?" She sneered, "Even your life isn't enough to pay for it." After that, she never celebrated her birthday, and neither did I. If it made her feel slightly better, I was willing. So, using Thea's first birthday celebration as an excuse, I selfishly planned it according to Serena's preferences. I thought no one would ever find out. So much so that the second time, I foolishly put up her portrait again. Only I would know, right? But after sending that message in the morning, I received her call. "See you in, I'm back." Instantly, it felt like the wind stopped blowing. "Can you pick me up?" My legs carried me to the garage automatically. I drove out. How long had it been? At 18, she went abroad to study. I visited her every year under the guise of traveling. On the day I turned 18, we became intimate. But after she graduated university, she vanished. Turns out, if someone wants to hide from you, you can search the entire globe and still not find them. That year, I was 19. At 22, I met Thea Sommers. I thought I could finally forget her. In a healthy, normal relationship, I examined my feelings for Serena. What were we, really? Nominally, she was the adopted daughter. Nominally, I called her sister. But we had crossed that line. I'm truly not human, and I was a coward, compromising because of my parents. When she returned, she only had one suitcase. She seemed changed, less consumed by hatred. I told her I had a girlfriend. She paused for a moment, then said that as her sister, she was happy for me. It seemed she had let go long ago, so I brought her to the birthday party. But I couldn't meet Thea's eyes. Chris texted me under the table. "Are you sick?" I didn't reply. Someone started making noise. I cursed him. I seemed to be subconsciously protecting Serena. Perhaps because I had seen her in her darkest moments, I felt sorry for her, didn't want others talking about her. After all, if it weren't for me, she should have had living parents and a happy family. But then Thea instigated the cheering. Serena hadn't said anything. She was so graceful and composed. Why did Thea have to embarrass her publicly? I suddenly thought of how my mother used to treat her. A wave of irritation washed over me. So I said, "Thea Sommers, what scene are you making?" She stood up, tears welling in her stubborn eyes, and that look pierced my heart again. Later she left. Serena said, "You should probably go after her." See, even she was being so magnanimous. Why couldn't Thea? I felt resentful, didn't want to chase her. Anyway, she had a good temper, I could just coax her later. Besides, she could celebrate her birthday any other time. This was Serena's first proper celebration in years. But then Thea deleted me. What exactly was she unhappy about? What did I do wrong? Didn't she have brothers and sisters? Even if Serena and I had a past, that was history. Why did she have to cling to it? I decided to give her the cold shoulder for a bit. She'd come back on her own. Serena said she was just visiting for a while and would leave soon, relieved to see me moving on with my life. I figured, fair enough. She'd only be here briefly, while Thea and I had a lifetime. I didn't expect to run into her at the temple, and she was with a man bundled up from head to toe. I was furious. I hadn't even agreed to the breakup, and she dared to find someone new. Who gave her the audacity? But her attitude towards me was filled with disgust. She wouldn't even give me an explanation. I suddenly panicked. It seemed like she was serious this time. That day, Serena said if it was because of her, she could leave. But I didn't want her to go, and I didn't want Thea to go either. I finally realized it seemed like two people resided in my heart. My internal scale had previously tipped towards Serena, and now it was tilting towards Thea. I was deeply conflicted. Thinking I could no longer contact Thea, my ting-ting, a searing pain shot through me. I locked myself in the studio like a madman, painting day and night. My mind was filled with her goodness. Her shy expressions, her playful kitten act, her angry face. It all seemed to belong solely to me, but I seemed to have hurt her. Chris couldn't stand it anymore and found me. I clung to him like a lifeline, begging him to message Thea. He punched me in the face. "You're a goddamn scumbag, eating from your bowl while eyeing the pot. Just leave Thea alone, okay?" Ignoring him, I wrestled him to the ground like a madman, took his phone, and sent messages to Thea. "We all only recognize you. He still loves you, can you give him another chance?" But she replied with, "Life isn't a lottery ticket where you get endless chances to start over." I collapsed onto the floor, finally breaking down in tears. Chris took back his phone and stood up. "Simon Chadwick, Thea Sommers is too good for you. You don't deserve her." Chris called me an animal, called me fickle. Why could outsiders see so clearly, yet I couldn't understand my own heart? I feared losing Serena, and I feared losing Thea. Later, I asked my parents for help and finally got to see her. But she only showed me coldness. Why could such a sweet and gentle girl have such a hard heart? I finally realized Thea truly didn't love me anymore. But she used to love me so much. Later, I thought, I'll just pursue her again. But I didn't even have the right to stand beside her anymore. Because Ethan Kingsley confessed his love to her. Later, when Serena was about to leave, she dropped a bombshell in our circle. She released the story of our entanglement over the years. With the determination to inflict mutual damage, she completely severed ties with my family. Yet, I didn't hate her. It was fine. A rotten person like me deserved nothing better. She sent me a letter. It said, "The most painful thing in my life was falling in love with you while seeking revenge. I couldn't bear the guilt. This is for the best. Neither of us deserves love in this lifetime. Just live forever in darkness with me." After that, friends gradually drifted away. I lost my friends, my lover. Even my family, it felt like. I am a pitiful person. I deserve this. I failed two people. Those who betray true feelings must swallow 10,000 needles. If swallowing them could turn back time, I would. I had happy times with both of them. It's just that back then, I took it all for granted. Years later, I heard she got married. I went. No one welcomed me. Later still, she had a daughter. I sent a gift through someone, along with an apology. The gift was returned, unopened. I know she let go long ago. The only one trapped in the past is me. Serena Quincy's epilogue, I was such a fool, falling in love with my enemy's son. The day my parents died, my heart died too. The Chadwicks said they'd adopt me. I knew it was just the hypocritical excuse of the wealthy. They just didn't want public criticism. Just wanted to project an image of having a conscience. I hated it here, hated their whole family. If not for Simon Chadwick's stubbornness, my parents wouldn't have died in that horrific car crash. It was all because of him. At 15, I began hatching a plan for revenge. In this house, the parents were rarely home. Only he was there. At 12, he was reaching the age of budding romantic feelings. And I, at 15, was already mature for my age. It was just him and me in the house. I constantly brainwashed him. My parents died because of him. If not for him, I wouldn't be an orphan. I made him see my pitiful state. I wanted him to live forever in darkness, just like me. My plan was slowly succeeding, but at 18, our affair was discovered. Mrs. Chadwick confronted me, called me manipulative, said I was just the driver's daughter and could never marry into their family. But they cared too much about appearances to stop supporting me financially. So they sent me away. I sneered inwardly. 3 years were enough. Simon had already become dependent on me. After all, living together day and night, I played the role of both sister and girlfriend. In this world, only hatred lasts longer. Simon's relationship with his parents wasn't strong to begin with. With a little prodding from me, plus leaving him just as he fell for me, his resentment towards his parents would grow. Things progressed according to my plan. Every year, Simon used his holidays to visit me, taking multiple connecting flights just to see me. The first time he visited, tears glistened in his eyes. "Sister, are you abandoning me too?" A pang of sympathy shot through my heart. I told myself, "Serena, your revenge isn't complete. Your wings aren't strong enough yet to bring their family down." I played along with Simon. But as I played the part, I suddenly realized I might be falling in love with him. The first time we were intimate, he was 18. Afterwards, he held me tight, promising to be with me forever. I told him he was foolish, that I didn't believe in forever. But I found myself unconsciously drawn in, enjoying Simon's devoted attention, especially since this man was someone I had molded. The feelings were complex. He grew into the man I desired. It was hard not to be moved. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I dreamt of my parents, covered in blood. They accused me, asking why I was with Simon, accusing me of forgetting how they died. The pain was so intense I wanted to end it all with a knife. Simon would hold me, comfort me. "Yes, it's all my fault. Don't do this, don't self-harm. Stab me instead, don't hurt yourself." I told him to get lost. He would plead, eyes red, voice soft. "Don't push me away, sister. Don't abandon me again." Sometimes I thought he was truly pitiful. No one genuinely loved him. I wanted a swift conclusion, but my wings weren't strong enough yet to ruin their family. When he loved me most, I disappeared. That way, he would remember me forever. I would grow stronger in the shadows, where no one could see. But 6 years passed, and things changed. When I called his number again, I learned he had a girlfriend. So, a man's heart could change that quickly. From age 12 to 19, I accompanied him for 7 years. Yet this girl captured his heart in just 2. I couldn't accept it. I pretended not to care and went to the party. Only then did I realize the party's decorations were all things I had once mentioned liking. So, he still had feelings for me. That made things easier. I acted magnanimous, composed. I knew Simon disliked clingy, messy women. I taught him everything he knew. I knew exactly how to win him back. But I underestimated my opponent. Thea Sommers wasn't the kind of girl I expected. She didn't argue or cause a scene. She maintained her dignity and broke up with Simon. She was smart, tougher to deal with than I thought, but I was confident. No one knew him better than me. Just when I thought I was about to get him back completely, he started calling out Thea's name in his sleep. I laughed until I cried. He told me to get lost, cursed me for leaving back then and for coming back now. If I hadn't left or if I hadn't returned, maybe none of this would have happened. Fool. Of course, I came back for revenge. What no one knew was, during those days of mutual consolation, my heart was moved too. Love is torment, yet I couldn't bear to give it up. I failed my parents. When I left, I sought out Thea Sommers. I apologized to her. She said she was doing well now and didn't really want to see either of us again. Hoped it would be the last time we met. She always had such good manners. She was a good girl. Although I find Simon pitiful, he brought this upon himself. He deserves it, never having received anyone's true love in his life. Actually, he had. Thea Sommers had loved him without reservation. That's why he couldn't forget. In this world, his parents were distant, and my feelings for him were complicated. Yes, Thea Sommers was right. He was truly pitiful. So I gave his family a parting gift, spreading their dirty laundry throughout our circle. So, I guess my revenge didn't completely fail. I just sacrificed myself in the process. But I dragged an innocent person into it. That was Thea Sommers. In the end, I finally understood. Placing hope in others is futile. Only by relying on yourself can you become truly strong. Simon Chadwick, May You Be Lonely for Life. Me too. Ethan Kingsley's epilogue. After the confession that day, Thea Sommers didn't actually agree to be with me right away. Of course, I expected that outcome. But regardless, I had finally voiced the love I'd hidden for 10 years. It felt like a huge weight lifted from my chest. After the concert, we went out to eat. Thea told me she had only broken up 2 months prior and wasn't ready to move on so quickly. Starting a new relationship hastily would be disrespectful to me too. If possible, she suggested we start as friends and let the future unfold naturally. I told her I was grateful for her honesty. Love can take many forms, but I didn't want her to accept me out of gratitude or pity. That would betray my original intentions. I smiled and told her, "Don't feel any pressure at all. This was my own thing. It has nothing to do with you forcing anything. You have the right to choose, and choices ensure that the feelings between us are equal and free. You are free, and I love you." She spoke softly, but I knew her inner resolve was strong. She takes her choices seriously. The type of person who, if she commits to someone, it's never casual. She truly wants it to last. She invests her whole heart into relationships, which is why this time hurt so deeply. But I was willing to wait. I'd waited 10 years already. Time wasn't poison to me. And I believed that if we did end up together, it wouldn't be because she felt obligated, or because my name is Ethan Kingsley, but because she genuinely fell in love with me. 2 years later, Thea Sommers accepted me. She said, "Being with you feels effortless, relaxing. I feel completely at ease. It turns out the right person really does bring emotional stability instead of constant suspicion." Many things in life happen naturally. Relationships too. Often, when we deliberately chase something, the result isn't ideal. Letting things return to their essence often reveals that the destination we sought is reached quite quickly. Another 3 years passed. At 30, I married the 30-year-old woman I had fallen for 15 years earlier. At the threshold of a new decade in life, I finally married the girl I'd loved since I was a teenager. At the wedding, she didn't cry, but I couldn't stop my tears. "All that is wished for is obtained" that described me perfectly. I am incredibly happy, incredibly lucky. Perhaps this was heaven's greatest reward for me. A year later, she got pregnant. I canceled all my work engagements to stay home and accompany her through the pregnancy. I didn't want to be absent when she needed me most. Her small face grew rounder. She'd poke her belly and complain about gaining too much weight. "It's all your fault, even the doctor says I'm gaining too fast. Labor is going to be difficult, wah." Pregnancy made her even softer. I couldn't resist pinching her chubby cheeks, but being a first-time father, it was hard. Worried she wasn't eating enough, worried about her health. Later, I started eating nutritious meals with her, taking walks with her, wishing I could be tied to her side 24/7. This was the girl I chased for over a decade. I couldn't bear for her to suffer even the slightest discomfort. The baby arrived a few days before the due date. When her water broke, my hands trembled. Fortunately, the hospital allowed me to be present during labor. Seeing her face drenched in sweat, tormented by contractions, tears flowed uncontrollably. "Baby, we're never having more kids after this. I'm getting a vasectomy, next door right after." She managed a smile, reached up to touch my face, wiped away my tears, and whispered comfortingly, "But I really want both a son and a daughter. A son who looks like me, a daughter like you. I'll teach our son how to love and teach our daughter not to lose herself in love. Thea Sommers, I love you more than my own life." She said, "I know." Thankfully, the delivery went smoothly. It was a daughter. I said, "If it's a daughter, let's call her Nyan Kingsley." Nyan he meaning, thinking of missing he/Thea, she said okay. When I went to get diapers for the baby, I ran into someone familiar. Simon Chadwick. Actually, after the concert that day, he had approached me first. He just stood there, smoking silently. After a long time, he said, "Perhaps this is heaven's punishment for me, losing the two people who loved me most." I didn't say anything. He gave a self-deprecating laugh. "I don't even have the right to compete with you anymore." I didn't know how to respond. As I turned to leave, he called out again, "If you two get married later." "Can I come?" 5 years later, when Thea and I got married, we didn't invite him. But I still saw him in a corner. His face was tear-streaked, and he looked much gaunter. Sometimes I felt quite malicious, glad that his wavering gave me the chance to confess to the girl I loved. But sometimes I also felt sorry for Simon, only seeing his true feelings when it was too late to salvage anything. But he deserved it. Sometimes, when you don't cherish what you have, by the time regret hits, it's too late. Not everyone waits around. Life, after all, is just a series of farewells, saying goodbye to one group of people, welcoming another. Fortunately, Thea Sommers met him at the wrong time, and I stayed right where I was, waiting for her to look back. I was lucky. She looked back. End of story. End of the first story. Subscribe to my channel if you like my stories. Don't miss the second exciting story. Story 2. At 16, I was the notoriously ugly girl in my class, but Julian Shaw mistakenly thought I was the school beauty. We had an online relationship for 2 years until the day we planned to meet in person, when he realized he'd added the wrong WeChat contact. Feeling humiliated, he bullied me for 3 years. Because of that, I failed my college entrance exams. Years later, his career and love life flourished, while I was assaulted and brutally murdered during a part-time job. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at 16. Back to the very day Julian Shaw and I had agreed to meet. One I remembered I was already dead. Dead on a cold winter night in a hotel suite reeking of alcohol. The man with the brutal, fleshy face was flushed red, his thick hands clamped tightly around my neck, choking the air out of me. My consciousness faltered for a moment. Suddenly, the pain vanished from my body. I snapped my eyes open, stunned by the scene before me. Rows upon rows of desks stretched out in front of me. I looked down. On the desk before me was a stack of high school textbooks and 2 brand new school uniforms. Familiar high school faces surrounded me. At the front, our homeroom teacher, Miss Chapman, was smiling and introducing herself. But hadn't Miss Chapman retired long ago? Before I could figure things out, footsteps echoed from the classroom doorway. Permission to enter, my heart leaped. That voice, could it be? I looked towards the door. A tall teenager dressed in black stood there, a lazy, casual smile playing on his lips, his posture relaxed and nonchalant. A violent shiver ran through me. I almost screamed aloud. Julian Shaw, it was actually Julian Shaw. My heart pounded in my chest, fear mixed with hatred surging up. My fingers clenched unconsciously, nails digging into my palms. The sharp pain in my hands confirmed it. I was truly reborn. I was back at 16. Back to the first day of freshman year, the day Julian Shaw and I were supposed to meet. So much of my life's misfortune began when I met Julian Shaw. When I started middle school, my body began to develop. Not only did my upper body become fuller, but my face broke out in acne. Boys in my class often made fun of me. Already introverted by nature, I grew increasingly insecure over time, afraid to talk to my classmates. And Julian Shaw appeared exactly when I needed companionship the most. Carelessly, he had mistaken his tutor's WeChat ID for mine and added me instead. Even after the mix-up was cleared, Julian didn't delete me. Instead, he actively suggested we become friends. I didn't refuse. Because back then, I was simply too lonely. Just like that, we had an online relationship for 2 years. In our 3rd year of middle school, Julian wanted to meet in person, which terrified me. I wanted to see him too, but I was afraid he'd find me ugly, so I didn't dare agree. Sensing my hesitation, Julian sent another message. It was this message that pushed me into an abyss. "My oh meow, I know how wonderful you are. I don't care about looks. I like you for who you are inside." I believed his sweet lies and agreed that if we both got into Northwood High, we would meet. In my previous life, we had arranged to meet at the amusement park this afternoon. He said he wanted to take me on the Ferris wheel. Wearing a white dress I had specially prepared, my heart full of joy, I went to meet him. But the moment he saw me, his expression changed. He stared at me, bewildered. "You are Mayo Mao." I nodded and smiled at him. "Yes, I'm Mayo Mao." My heart soared, but Julian's face darkened steadily. He made a call with a cold expression. Soon, 3 or 4 menacing-looking boys arrived. They were Julian Shaw's lackeys. At Julian's command, the boys dragged me into a nearby alley and began punching and kicking me. A light rain began to fall. My white dress was soon covered in muddy footprints. Julian kicked me hard in the stomach, the pain feeling like my organs were splitting apart. I struggled, calling his name, wanting to ask why he was doing this to me. But he cut me off sharply. "You bitch, who gave you the right to say my name? So ugly, yet you dared impersonate my goddess. Shameless, stay the hell away from me from now on, you're bad luck." Only then did I realize Julian truly had added the wrong person initially. The person he meant to add was the school beauty he had a crush on. Our profile pictures were the same, and both our names contained a similar sound, leading him to mistake me for her. What I thought was my salvation was nothing but a complete deception. Julian explained he had just gone to the wrong classroom. Since it was the first day of school, Miss Chapman didn't say much, just motioned for him to find an empty seat. Watching his back, I fell into deep thought. The girl Julian truly liked was named Isabel Jennings, a renowned academic goddess. In the previous life, Julian had pretended to be a diligent student to follow in her footsteps. He spent 3 years transforming himself from a bottom-ranked student into a success story, eventually getting accepted into a prestigious university in a major city. Isabel, moved by his persistence and determination, accepted his confession after the college entrance exams. Teachers touted his comeback story as a positive example, even inviting him back to school to give speeches to students. He gained not only a beautiful romance, but also flowers and applause. And in a corner no one cared about, I failed my college entrance exams. Julian saw me as a disgrace, using me as a punching bag to release his academic stress, bullying me for 3 whole years. In the end, I didn't even meet the threshold for a 3rd-tier college back then and could only attend a local community college. Without decent qualifications, I struggled immensely after entering the workforce. To pay off the debts incurred for my dad's medical treatment, I sold our house and took on multiple part-time jobs. Just when I was about to clear the debts, I encountered a lustful drunkard and died unexpectedly. The past flashed before my eyes like a revolving lantern. I only snapped back to reality when the phone in my pocket vibrated. It was a message from Julian Shaw. "Maya Omeo, what are you wearing today? I really can't wait to see you excited." JPG looking at the screen, a wave of nausea washed over me. He was clearly obsessed with looks, yet he had the audacity to claim he didn't care about my appearance. Truly disgusting. I wanted nothing more to do with Julian Shaw. Without a second thought, I replied, "I'm tired of this. Let's just delete each other. There's no need for us to meet." After sending the message, I promptly deleted and blocked him. Once the opening ceremony ended, I rushed home. The moment I opened the door, a familiar, long mist aroma of cooking filled the air. Dad, wearing a floral apron, was busy preparing lunch in the kitchen. Seeing me return, he greeted me with spatula in hand. "Mayo Mao's back. Dad made your favorite spicy chicken, go wash your hands and get ready to eat." Looking at his back, my eyes couldn't help but well up. Afraid Dad would notice something was wrong, I hurried to the bathroom to wash up properly. When I came out, the food was already on the table. I popped a piece of chicken into my mouth. The taste from my memories spread through my body. The tear I had held back for so long finally fell. Dad saw me crying and was startled. "Why are you suddenly crying? Is it not good?" I quickly shook my head. "No, it's too delicious. I'm crying because it's so touching." In my previous life, Dad passed away from stomach cancer during my 2nd year of college. I never dreamed I'd have the chance to eat his home-cooked food again. Hearing my words, Dad sighed in relief. He raised his hand and ruffled my hair. If you like it, eat more. Fill up so you have energy to hang out with your classmates later. I didn't have friends in middle school and always stayed home on weekends. Dad was happy for me, hearing I was going out with new friends today. Of course, I had no intention of meeting Julian Shaw. To avoid worrying Dad, I didn't explain and just left after finishing lunch. Although I had blocked Julian, I still felt uneasy. This second chance at life was precious. Just in case, I decided to go to the phone company's service center and cancel my original phone number. The summer sun burned fiercely. Walking out of the service center, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. This way, Julian Shaw shouldn't be able to find me again. Right. For the next 2 months, Julian Shaw ignored me. Just when I thought I had successfully shaken him off and was ready to throw myself into studying, a note suddenly appeared in my desk drawer. Scrawled aggressively across it was a single line: "Don't leave after school. Wait for me." My heart pounded nervously. I wasn't sure if Julian had written this note. To test him, I threw the note into the trash bin right in front of him. As I turned away, I glanced at Julian out of the corner of my eye. He didn't show much reaction. I thought maybe I was overthinking it. But the next day, I found another note in my drawer. This time it read, "You bitch, if you dare run off after school again, you're dead." My heart tightened. Bitch was Julian Shaw's favorite curse word. I had heard him say those words countless times. I was almost certain now that the person writing the notes was Julian Shaw. But why? Why was he still coming after me when I was avoiding him like this? I took the note to our homeroom teacher, Miss Chapman. The 3 years of bullying by Julian Shaw in my past life were a lifelong nightmare. I absolutely could not let myself repeat that fate. Miss Chapman taught language arts. She wore black framed glasses on her nose and looked quite strict. She held the note and asked if I had offended anyone recently. I shook my head. No, I get along well with my classmates, and I haven't had conflicts with anyone. I received a note yesterday too, but I didn't think much of it. When another one appeared today, I got really scared and decided to tell you. Miss Chapman patted my shoulder. You did the right thing. Don't keep things bottled up when something happens. You should actively communicate with your teacher. She told me to go back to class and report any new developments immediately. I agreed earnestly. As I lowered my head and turned to leave, a faint smile touched my lips. Miss Chapman knew the handwriting of every student in the class intimately. I believed it wouldn't take more than 2 days for her to get to the bottom of this. Julian Shaw wanted to pretend to be a good student. I was determined to let the teacher see exactly what kind of disgusting person he really was. On Friday afternoon, Miss Chapman indeed called Julian Shaw to her office. When Julian returned to the classroom, his face was so dark it looked like ink could drip from it. He had clearly been reprimanded. He was young and hot-headed after all. As he passed my desk, he deliberately slammed into it hard. 2 books fell to the floor, and he viciously stomped on them. Before I could say anything, my deskmate spoke up. He lazily lifted his eyelids and sneered. Julian Shaw, why do you always look like your cerebellum's underdeveloped and your cerebrum's completely missing? Like some idiot who can't even walk without bumping into a desk, Julian, already fuming and looking for an outlet, immediately yelled back. What's a cheating dog like you yapping about? Eager to get expelled, are you? A week earlier, our seats had been rearranged. My new deskmate, Ethan Eastwood, was also a tough character. He had cheated on the first placement test after starting high school and was caught red-handed by the dean, who moved him from the honors class to the regular class. He currently had a major demerit on his record. One more, and the school would likely ask him to withdraw. Ethan raised an eyebrow, smiling nonchalantly. Who knows? Maybe the school will expel you first. I expected Julian not to let it go, but he just glared fiercely at Ethan. I can't be bothered talking to trash like you. Bad luck, Willow Asher, you just wait. After throwing down the threat, Julian actually walked away. I was somewhat surprised. Swallowing his anger like that wasn't school tyrant song's style. Could it be that Ethan had some leverage over him? 5. Julian Shaw didn't intend to let me off easily. However, with the monthly exams coming up next week, he was busy cramming knowledge points, preparing to impress his goddess, Isabel Jennings. So, he temporarily didn't have time to bother me. I also threw myself wholeheartedly into studying. But it had been a long time since I'd encountered this high school material, and relearning it was arduous. Other students could memorize about 50 words a day. No matter how hard I tried, I could only stumble through 20. Not to mention math, physics, and chemistry, they gave me a massive headache. In this monthly exam, apart from doing well in language arts and history, my other subjects barely hovered around the passing line. Looking at the test papers in my hand, I felt incredibly frustrated. Was I destined to be an underachiever, unable to escape the fate of being at the bottom even after being reborn? Inadvertently, my gaze fell upon Ethan Eastwood's report card. Good grief, he hadn't passed a single subject. Not only that, his scores in language arts, history, and politics were all 0. But Math 11, Physics 22, English 33, what on earth was this? I blurted out, "Ethan, aren't these scores a bit surreal?" A subtle smile played on Ethan's lips. Guessed the multiple choice and fill in the blanks. Couldn't understand a single long answer question. Then, why didn't you guess for language arts and history? Oh, that. Ethan rubbed his eyes. Too many words on those papers, too lazy to read the questions. I was speechless. I turned back to review my mistakes. A few minutes later, a commotion erupted at the doorway. A beautiful girl with a high ponytail walked in, storming up to Ethan's desk. "Ethan Eastwood, why didn't you take this exam seriously? Did you forget what Mr. Zhao said? If you can prove yourself, you can go back to the honors class." "Oh, go back." Ethan leaned back in his chair, looking lazy and nonchalant. "Isabel Jennings, that's just your wishful thinking. I never planned on going back." So that was Isabel Jennings. I secretly sized her up and found she was truly beautiful. An oval face, large eyes, fair skin, complemented by a dark ponytail, she looked like a protagonist straight out of a youth film. Sunlight struck her cheeks, flushed pink from agitation, adding a different kind of vibrancy to her. No wonder Julian Shaw liked her. Even I would like her. Neither Isabel nor Ethan spoke, and the atmosphere grew tense. Hearing that Isabel had come to our class, Julian Shaw rushed back from the basketball court. "My oh mio, come look, I passed every subject in this exam. Isn't that great progress?" When he looked at Isabel, his eyes were so gentle they seemed about to melt. But when his gaze fell on Ethan and me, that tenderness vanished instantly, replaced by naked disdain and disgust. "My oh mio, don't be so kind. Ethan is just useless trash. And this Willow Asher, she looks like a toad just looking at her. Might dirty your eyes." Saying this, he reached out to take Isabel's hand and lead her away. But she swatted his hand away. Isabel completely ignored him, staring fixedly at Ethan. "Are you really going to keep degrading yourself like this?" Ethan didn't even look up. JUST Chinese letter, SNORTED. "What I do is none of your business." Isabel, furious, bit her lip and retorted sharply, "Fine, if I ever meddle in your affairs again, then call me a dog." She turned and stormed off, Julian following closely behind her. "My oh mio, don't be upset." Suddenly, an idea flashed through my mind. Julian Shaw hadn't won over Isabel Jennings yet. 6. I started looking for opportunities to get closer to Isabel Jennings. She was wary of boys but very easygoing with girls. Through interaction, we quickly became friends. One weekend, I invited her to a bookstore to buy review books. From her, I learned quite a bit about Ethan Eastwood. Isabel's father and Ethan's father were colleagues. They had been classmates throughout elementary and middle school, their grades always comparable. This year, both naturally entered Northwood High's top class. But shortly after freshman year began, Ethan's parents divorced. His father didn't want him. His mother, involved in biotechnology research, needed to stay in Germany long-term and couldn't look after him much either. This hit Ethan hard, so he gave up on himself, not even bothering to defend himself when accused of cheating. I was somewhat taken aback. High school is such a crucial time. Why would his parents choose to divorce now? A flicker of unease crossed Isabel's eyes. After a moment, she lowered her voice. I heard this from my mom, too. Uncle Eastwood was having an affair. The woman got pregnant and was making a scene, demanding recognition. Isabel reached out and took my hand. Ethan is a very important friend to me. I can't just watch him gamble with his future. Willow, I know this might be a bold request, but could you help me try to persuade him? She tilted her head slightly, her watery eyes filled with worry. The thought that such a warm-hearted girl would later become Julian Shaw's wife was unsettling just to consider. So I looked up and smiled slightly at her. Don't say that. Ethan is my classmate too. Classmates should help each other. Besides, I have a favor to ask you too. What is it? Keep your distance from Julian Shaw. He's not a good person. He bullied me for 3 years in my past life. I'll ruin his potential marriage in this one. That way, we're even. Isabel Jennings readily agreed. She had long been annoyed by Julian Shaw's pestering. Hearing me say he had poor character only increased her disdain. He's talking about relationships at an age when he should be studying. That's ridiculous. And saying he's sincere about me will treat me well forever. Yeah, right, I'd rather spend time doing practice exams than waste it on dating him. Don't worry, I definitely won't give him a second glance from now on. Having secured Isabel's promise, I started working on building a good relationship with Ethan Eastwood. Since being reborn, my mind had been preoccupied with either avoiding Julian Shaw or improving my grades. It wasn't until after parting ways with Isabel that day that I suddenly remembered something. In my previous life, Ethan and I weren't desk mates, but we did have one brief interaction. During a mock exam in the first semester of senior year, Julian Shaw performed poorly. In a fit of rage, he beat me up and locked me on the rooftop. I cried and shouted desperately for a long time. Finally, when the dismissal bell rang, a boy opened the door for me from the inside. That boy was Ethan Eastwood. He kept his head down and asked softly, "Are you okay?" At that moment, all I could think about was not wanting anyone to see my disheveled state. I mumbled a thank you and ran off hastily. But as I ran out of the school building, a figure suddenly fell from the sky. All I could see was a splatter of blood. Ethan Eastwood had jumped. At that time, nobody knew why an underachieving, seemingly lazy student would jump off a building. But now, I thought I understood the reason for Ethan's suicide. Nobody needed him. He couldn't find meaning in his existence. No one wants to be an island. When a person is no longer needed by anyone, falling becomes inevitable. So, what I needed to do was give Ethan a sense of being needed. I shamelessly begged Ethan to help me with tutoring. This way, I could improve my grades and also get closer to him. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, it seemed perfect. However, reality was harsh. No matter how I appealed to his emotions and reason, Ethan remained unmoved, spending his days sleeping with his eyes closed. It was as if this wasn't a school, but a hotel. After a week of trying, anger surged through me. I cornered him on his way home. "Ethan Eastwood, sacrificing your entire future for 2 people who don't care about you, don't you think that's foolish?" Ethan's expression changed. Night enveloped him, his profile hidden in shadow, hard to read clearly. "Willow Asher, mind your own business." Ethan's voice was soft. I knew he was angry. But so what? If nice words didn't work, I might as well give him a good scolding. Your parents abandoned you, but your friends, your teachers, they all want you to pull yourself together. Why do you only see the heartless ones and consistently ignore those who care about you? Faced with my questioning, Ethan remained silent. I sighed and walked up beside him. "Ethan, no matter what, you shouldn't give up on your studies. I heard from Isabel Jennings, your parents didn't get along. The reason you used to study so hard was because only when you got good grades could your family sit down together for a peaceful meal. But you've got one thing wrong. We should study for ourselves. Studying isn't the only path in life, but it can give us choices. You've already tasted abandonment. Don't you want to hold the power of choice in your own hands?" 9 after that day, Ethan Eastwood finally came around. He patched things up with Isabel Jennings and even agreed to tutor me. But learning truly requires a certain amount of talent. Even though I woke up earlier than a rooster and slept later than an ox, with a hidden academic ace by my side, my grades still didn't improve significantly. Looking at my 91 math paper, IFROWNED Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. If I maintained this score, getting into a second-tier university should be possible. But aiming for a top-tier university later on still felt like a huge gap. Ethan chewed on his pen and comforted me. Take it slow. At least you scored over 90 this time. That's a whole 80 points higher than me. I turned my head. His paper lay casually on the desk, the large number 11 glaring at me, giving me a headache. This childish guy, Ethan, was addicted to controlling his scores. He said he wanted to bide his time and make a stunning debut during the college entrance exams. In sharp contrast to us was Julian Shaw. He had initially gotten into Northwood High through connections and a donation fee. But ever since Isabel Jennings rejected his confession, citing his poor academic performance, he had been striving relentlessly, wishing he could stretch a day into 48 hours. In this exam, he successfully broke into the top 100 of the grade, taking a step closer to Isabel, who was in the top 10. Anyone seeing this couldn't help but marvel at the great power of love. But a leopard can't change its spots. As soon as he made some progress and heard that Isabel and I had been getting close recently, he couldn't wait to come looking for trouble. He snatched the paper from my hand and yelled, "Tusk, tusk, tusk, only 91? Willow Asher, with your level of intelligence, what's the point of waking up early and staying up late every day? You might as well just sleep in class with your deskmate." The surrounding classmates burst into laughter. Facing his mockery, I just smiled faintly. Getting into the top 100 has gone to your head. I believe Isabel was in the top 3 this time. You still have a long way to go. Julian immediately flew into a rage, pointing at my nose. "You bitch, I knew it was you badmouthing me to Maya Omeo. That's why she won't talk to me. Don't think I won't hit you just because you're a girl." He never had much class. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used a girl like me as his punching bag in the past life. Seeing him raise his hand, I subconsciously lifted my right arm to block his fist. After a few seconds, his fist didn't land on me. Ethan stood up and grabbed his hand forcefully. "Julian Shaw, hitting a girl. Have you no shame?" Julian exclaimed dramatically. "Are you kidding me, cheating dog, her? Call her a girl? More like a toad." The words were hurtful, but they were indeed Julian Shaw's true feelings. In his eyes, only beautiful girls like Isabel Jennings deserved to be called girls. The rest were dinosaurs or toads. Ethan dropped his usual lazy, nonchalant demeanor and said word by word, "Judging people and categorizing them based on appearance, you think you're so impressive. But people like you are actually unbearably vulgar. Isabel Jennings despises people like you the most. Even if every other man in the world dropped dead, she would never fall for you." He knew exactly how to hit where it hurt. Julian exploded with anger, raising his fist to strike. Ethan wasn't afraid of him. The two started fighting right there in the classroom. Classmates couldn't stop them. Finally, a teacher arrived and pulled them apart. As per protocol, fighting required calling the parents. Ethan's parents didn't show up. Julian's mother, however, arrived quickly. Seeing the bruise on her son's mouth, she immediately demanded the school expel Ethan, regardless of the facts. "Miss Chapman, how could my Yang possibly start a fight? It must have been this bottom-ranked failure bullying him. Look what he did to my boy's face. I heard he cheated on an exam before, right? A student with such rotten moral character absolutely cannot stay at Northwood High." I glanced at Julian Shaw, clearly seeing the malice in his eyes. It dawned on me instantly. Julian had done that deliberately. He knew Ethan had a demerit, and that one more major offense would guarantee expulsion, so he intentionally picked a fight with him. I stepped forward, interrupting Mrs. Shaw. "Ma'am, are you so sure Ethan started it?" I was right there. Julian Shaw tried to hit me first. My deskmate stepped in because he couldn't stand by and watch. Hearing this, Julian quickly shouted, "Mom, Miss Chapman, don't listen to Willow Asher's nonsense. She was always flirting around in middle school. She's dating Ethan now, they're in it together, in a high school setting." Dating was a sensitive term. Any teacher hearing those words would instantly have their radar pinging. Miss Chapman was no exception. She immediately turned to me. "Willow?" I shook my head decisively. "The burden of proof is on the accuser. You claim I was promiscuous in middle school, then please provide evidence. Also, Ethan and I have a normal friendship between classmates. Don't project your own dirty thoughts onto us and spread nasty rumors." Julian Shaw considered me a disgrace. He would never publicly admit that he had once mistaken me for Isabel Jennings, pursued me online for 2 years, and even confessed his feelings. He could only stubbornly insist. "You know perfectly well what you were like in middle school. You bring Ethan breakfast every day. The whole class has seen it. You say you're not dating? Who would believe that? How absurd. Did he think everyone was as romance-obsessed as him? Doesn't he understand basic social courtesy, Miss?" Chapman looked sternly at Ethan and me. "Early relationships violate school rules. If this is true, both of you will receive demerits. I hope you will answer seriously and not jeopardize your future." I remained composed. "Miss Chapman, I do bring Ethan breakfast sometimes, but it's only to thank him for tutoring me after class. We are not dating." Seeing this, Miss Chapman's expression softened slightly. After all, my academic improvement over the past 2 months was evident to everyone. Julian, however, reacted as if he'd heard the funniest joke. "Ethan tutors you," he said sarcastically. "Willow Asher, please, at least make your lies believable. Ethan has always been dead last in class. How could someone like that tutor you? Dating is one thing, but are you trying to play us for fools too?" 10. I silently mouthed an apology to Ethan. The next second, under his confused gaze, I pulled out a USB drive. "Miss Chapman, I also have something to report to the school. I want to report Julian Shaw for maliciously framing Ethan Eastwood for cheating." Ethan did not cheat on that placement test after school started. Julian Shaw was in the same exam room and secretly slipped that note into Ethan's uniform pocket. As my words fell, everyone's eyes focused on Julian Shaw. He immediately looked flustered and roared. "Willow Asher, what nonsense are you spouting? We're talking about you and Ethan dating. I think you're just feeling guilty and trying to change the subject by deliberately framing me. I'm telling the truth." I gave him a cold look. "I have surveillance footage here. The teacher can take a look." The video on the USB drive was copied from the security room by Isabel and me half a month ago. Every classroom had cameras installed, but because Ethan was caught red-handed at the time and didn't defend himself at all, the teachers hadn't checked the footage. The school's surveillance footage is automatically overwritten after 3 months. Luckily, Isabel and I went in time. If we had been just 2 days later, the recording would have been gone. Miss Chapman reached for the drive, but someone behind her intercepted it first. Julian Shaw snatched the USB drive and forcefully threw it out the window. If Ethan didn't cheat, why didn't he say so back then? Now you just produce some random USB drive to frame me. Ridiculous. The school happened to be constructing a new building at the time. This office window faced the construction site directly. The small USB drive vanished without a trace instantly. I immediately saw red. "Julian Shaw, are you crazy?" Julian smirked triumphantly, looking like I couldn't do anything to him. The fire in my chest burned hotter, but Ethan suddenly stepped forward and spoke unhurriedly. "Julian Shaw, did you really think destroying the footage settles everything? Willow Asher is right. I didn't cheat. You deliberately framed me that day." Julian raised an eyebrow mockingly. "Stop with the alarmist talk. Why would I frame you for no reason? I have absolutely no reason to target you." "Of course, you do." Isabel Jennings' clear voice suddenly came from the office doorway. I breathed a sigh of relief inwardly. When Julian and Ethan started fighting in the classroom, I had quietly asked the class monitor to go find Isabel and inform her. Belle walked straight to Miss Chapman and slapped the love letters in her hand onto the desk. "Teacher, Julian Shaw framed Ethan because of me. When freshman year started, Julian Shaw kept pestering me, wanting me to be his girlfriend. Ethan and I live in the same neighborhood and used to walk home together. Julian Shaw didn't like it, so he framed him for cheating during the exam. Julian, stubborn as a mule, quickly explained, "Mao, don't be fooled by Ethan if he didn't cheat. Why is he always last in every exam?" Isabel retorted fiercely, "Ethan has always excelled academically since childhood. If the school doesn't believe it, give Ethan a test right now. The truth will speak for itself." The office fell silent. Ethan didn't speak, but Julian spoke up first. "Fine, I demand to compete with Ethan right here, right now. Let the teachers grade us on the spot. If you lose, you and Willow Asher withdraw from school voluntarily. Ethan, do you dare compete with me?" His tone was confident, certain Ethan would lose. Miss Chapman's face darkened. "Julian Shaw, school is not a place for your petty squabbles. You have no right to demand other students withdraw. Miss Chapman, I'm willing to compete with him." Ethan glanced at me before addressing Miss Chapman. "I hope you can give me a chance to prove myself. I promise you, even if I win, I won't demand Julian Shaw withdraw." Julian, however, showed no appreciation for the gesture. Ethan hadn't seriously attended class this semester. Julian was certain he would win and bluntly threw down the gauntlet. "I don't need your fake kindness. If I lose, I'll transfer out of Northwood High myself." 11. The math teacher printed 2 copies of a test on the spot. "This is the paper prepared for the end of semester final exam. Consider it good practice for you too. You have 60 minutes. Time starts now." Ethan and Julian each found an empty spot and began answering the questions. The head of grade level personally supervised them, while everyone else stepped out of the office. During this time, I paced back and forth in the hallway. Seeing this, Isabel calmly reassured me, "It's okay. That guy Ethan has an IQ of 140. Just wait for the good news." I had no doubt about Ethan's abilities. It was the meaningful look he gave me earlier that was making me uneasy. Isabel comforted me for a few moments, then suddenly changed the subject, asking in a low voice, "Speaking of which, he's been unusually diligent lately. Could it be? You two are really dating?" How could that be possible? I was startled and waved my hands repeatedly. "Looking across all of Northwood High, do you think any boy would like me?" "Why not?" Isabel retorted without hesitation. "You have a good personality, you're thoughtful and kind. You're incredibly likable." I froze, unable to react for a long time. In my previous life, I was disliked by classmates and colleagues. Unconsciously, I had forgotten what it felt like to be accepted. Since rebirth, I had also incorporated exercise into my routine alongside studying to boost my metabolism. My acne had cleared up significantly, but deep down, I was still insecure, feeling plain and unworthy of being liked. Seeing my dazed expression, Isabel smiled and took my hand. "Willow, you might think I'm saying this lightly because I don't understand, but I still want to tell you, you need to be more confident. You're not inferior to anyone. If someone arbitrarily judges you based on your appearance, it doesn't mean you're truly worthless. It just means they are truly superficial." Her eyes shone with genuine sincerity. My heart tightened and I lowered my head, avoiding her gaze. 12 an hour later, Ethan and Julian walked out of the office, one after the other. The papers were graded quickly. Julian had performed well, scoring 129 points. And Ethan, unsurprisingly, scored a perfect 150. When the head of grade level announced the results on the spot, Julian couldn't handle the blow and actually stumbled, his legs giving out as he fell to the ground. Ethan smiled at him. "Oops, sorry. If I'd known you were this bad, I would have controlled my score a bit. Have you decided which school you're transferring to?" Seeing Julian in this state, his mother couldn't sit still again and jumped up to defend him. It was just 2 kids squabbling. How can you take it seriously? Faced with her double standard, Isabel couldn't help but speak up. "Ma'am, one must keep their word. If you didn't agree with Julian's actions, why didn't you stop him immediately?" Mrs. Shaw knew she was in the wrong. But even if she was wrong, she had to keep making a scene. Northwood High was the best high school in the city. Students from outside pulled strings trying to get in. no student from Northwood ever voluntarily transferred out. Since Isabel spoke first, Mrs. Shaw directed her attack towards her. I haven't even settled scores with you, and you're already picking faults with me. Out of all the girls in the entire school, why didn't my son write love letters to others, but specifically to you? You must have seduced him first, right? So young and already so improper, looking like a little seductress. Thinking about hooking up with boys all day long, let me warn you. Stay out of this, or I'll have the teacher call your parents to school. Isabel, after all, was just a teenage girl. She was immediately frightened into tears. Seeing this, Miss Chapman quickly pulled her behind her. Mrs. Shaw, you are a woman yourself. How can you say such things to a girl? If we're really talking about academics, Isabel Jennings has never dropped out of the top 10 in the grade. While not the absolute best, she's certainly no worse than your son. Miss Chapman's words, instead of calming Mrs. Shaw, only agitated her further. What kind of teacher are you? I can report you to the Education Bureau for talking like this. Mrs. Shaw was arrogant, insulting everyone present. She threatened that if anyone dared to give Julian trouble at school in the future, they shouldn't blame her for being unpleasant. Julian followed her out without a word. As he passed me, he gave me a deep look. His gloomy eyes held a sinister glint that made me deeply uneasy. 13, Miss Chapman said the school would handle the matter and told us to focus on our studies. Walking out of the school building, Isabel looked troubled. I don't know how the teachers will handle this. I just feel like the Shaw family definitely won't let this go easily. Ethan, however, just looked at me expressionlessly. Willow Asher, isn't there anything you want to say about today? You approached Isabel and me deliberately from the start. What ulterior motive do you have? A lead-colored cloud drifted over, obscuring the sun. Isabel, confused, glared at Ethan. Hey, what's gotten into you all of a sudden? Ethan didn't answer, just stared fixedly at me. I took a deep breath and told them everything about my online relationship with Julian Shaw. You guessed right. I did approach you with a purpose. I used you, and I'm sorry for that, but I don't regret it. Julian Shaw was a mad dog. The more I feared and yielded, the more he pushed his luck. I was reborn to make up for the regrets of my past life, to live differently, not to continue being his punching bag. So I had to fight back. I looked at the two people before me and said softly, "You probably won't want anything to do with me anymore. I'll apply to the teacher tomorrow to change seats." Change your ghostly head. Hearing this, Isabel suddenly put her hands on her hips and roared. Willow Asher, I am indeed angry, but compared to your concealment, I'm angrier that as your friend, I wasn't there to share your worries and fears. Are you some kind of turtle, holding everything in like that? And you, Ethan Eastwood, I don't even want to start with you. Willow hiding things from us was wrong, but she had her reasons. Judge actions, not intentions, whether it was her warning me to keep distance from Julian Shaw before, or helping you clear your name of cheating today. We were the actual beneficiaries, Ethan, somewhat unconvinced, argued. But I didn't ask her to help me. You still have the nerve to say, but. Isabel didn't give him a chance to speak, scolding him like a dog. Spend less time reading web novels and more time solving problems. What's wrong with learning from novel protagonists how to control scores? So proud of yourself. Go make a hospital appointment when you have time. Get that chunibyu of yours treated. Her outburst completely swept away the previously heavy atmosphere. I asked cautiously, "You are still willing to be friends with me?" Of course, Isabel answered decisively, and Ethan also gave a low sound of agreement. The evening sunlight reflected in her clear eyes. Today's matter is closed, but good friends should share joys and sorrows. From now on, you two are not allowed to hide anything. 14 Julian Shaw quickly retaliated against me. A few days later, my dad's breakfast shop was suddenly vandalized. After Dad was laid off, Mom divorced him. He used his severance pay to rent a storefront and opened his own breakfast shop. For 10 years, he had relied on this small shop to support the two of us. But now, the shop was a wreck, and insulting words were spray-painted in red on the rolling shutter door. The vandals came prepared. The security camera near the entrance was deliberately damaged. We couldn't find any useful clues. It wasn't until the next day, on my way to school, that I ran into Julian Shaw. He lowered his voice and asked me with a smile, "Like the present I sent you? You better know what's good for you if you dare oppose me again. Next time it won't just be your dad's shop I smash." After saying this, Julian Shaw walked away briskly. I stared fixedly at his retreating back, wanting nothing more than to tear him limb from limb. How dare he lay a hand on my family? How dare he? When Isabel Jennings learned that Julian had hired people to trash my dad's shop, she was furious. She immediately wanted to go find Julian and settle the score. Ethan stopped her. "Calm down. My friend got bullied and you're telling me to calm down?" Isabel glared at him wide-eyed. "Ethan, let me ask you one thing. Was what this scumbag did human? Doesn't he deserve a beating?" "He deserves a beating, but we don't have any evidence right now." Meow, Ethan's right. I let out a slow breath. "Actually, I've already thought of a plan, but I need your help." The next day after school, I proactively went to Julian Shaw to feign submission. "Julian, could I trouble you for a few minutes? I have something I want to say to you. It won't take long." Seeing the pleading look on my face, Julian Shaw curled his lips in satisfaction and followed me to the small grove behind the school building. Once in the grove, I dropped to my knees with a thud. "Julian Shaw, please stop sending people to cause trouble at my dad's shop. I was wrong. I shouldn't have opposed you. I'll never dare to again. Please, let my dad go. I'm begging you." Hearing my words, Julian Shaw looked slightly puzzled. He had ordered the shop trashing, but he hadn't arranged for anyone to cause further trouble afterward. But he didn't dwell on it. Right now, my pathetic groveling gave him immense satisfaction. He raised his eyebrows, a mocking curve on his lips. "Willow Asher, you really are worthless. Had to resort to rough tactics to make you submit. If you had been this obedient earlier, why would I have had someone trash your dad's shop?" I lowered my head, feigning terror. "It was my fault for provoking you. Julian, I apologize. Please be the bigger person and forgive my transgression." Julian Shaw placed his foot on my shoulder and sneered. "If you're begging for mercy, you need to look like you're begging." My whole body trembled. After deliberately hesitating for a few seconds, my face pale, I kowtowed 3 times to him. "I beg you to be merciful and let me go." As the words left my mouth, tears streamed down my cheeks. Julian Shaw was very pleased with my performance. "Good performance. From now on, you're my little bitch dog. You do whatever I tell you to do, understand?" Julian had plans to play games at an internet cafe with friends. Seeing my timid nod, he kicked me over and swaggered off. After he left, Ethan and Isabel emerged from a hidden spot nearby. Isabel rushed over to my side, took out tissues from her bag, and wiped the dirt from my face. Meow, does it hurt?" I shook my head and stood up from the ground. "Don't worry, I'm fine." "Did you record the whole scene just now?" Ethan nodded. "Don't worry, I brought a professional camera from home. The picture and sound are crystal clear." Hearing his words, I smiled with satisfaction. Everything that just happened was a play I orchestrated, aiming to make Julian Shaw confess on tape that he was the one who ordered the vandalism of my dad's shop. Before long, Julian Shaw's good days would be over. 16 after that day, I became the most obedient dog by Julian Shaw's side. I didn't fight back when hit, nor talk back when scolded. Not only that, but I also drew clear lines between myself, Ethan, and Isabel, and barely spoke to other classmates. This went on for about half a month, until Julian Shaw's birthday. We were still in class when the dean of students suddenly came to our classroom and took Julian away. A few minutes later, Miss Chapman also came. She took me to the office. "Willow, you've been distracted in class recently. Are you not feeling well?" I shook my head, quietly putting my hands behind my back. Julian had performed poorly on a test 2 days ago and had taken it out on me yesterday. My body still bore several bruises, but I kept my head down and said nothing. Miss Chapman, unsure what to do, sighed. "Willow, let me be honest with you. Last night, the Education Bureau received an anonymous complaint email, which included a video of Julian Shaw bullying you at school. The leaders at the Education Bureau take this matter very seriously. If you have truly been bullied, I hope you can tell the truth. I knew about this. I had compiled the complaint materials myself. It contained not only the video of Julian humiliating me in the Grove that day, but also videos of him fighting outside school, hanging out in bars, and photos I had secretly taken based on my memories from the previous life of his parents, frequenting high-consumption venues. But the time wasn't right yet. I needed to keep up the act a little longer. I bit my lip and said softly, "Miss Chapman, you don't need to lie to me. There's no point in saying some things." Julian Shaw said his dad is an official at the Education Bureau. Even if someone reports him, it'll just be a formality. I come from an ordinary family. I can't afford to provoke him. How can you think like that? Miss Chapman stood up and grabbed my arm. I couldn't help but wince in pain. She immediately noticed something was wrong, rolled up my sleeve, and saw large purple bruises covering my arm. "What happened?" Miss Chapman was shocked and angry. "Did Julian Shaw do this? He hit you. When did this happen?" Under her repeated questioning and reassurances, I finally relented and admitted that I had been continuously bullied by Julian Shaw recently. Miss Chapman was furious. She took me to the hospital for an injury report and reported my situation truthfully to the school and relevant authorities. Because the evidence was conclusive, the school quickly expelled Julian Shaw. His father was also dismissed from his position and placed under investigation for repeatedly covering up his son's wrongdoing and suspected abuse of power for personal gain. The day Julian's mother came to the school to handle the paperwork, she looked like a deflated fighting cock, completely devoid of her previous arrogance. When she saw Isabel and me in the hallway, she didn't say a single aggressive word. Isabel looked astonished. "Willow, am I dreaming? Is this really the same domineering auntie who threatened to teach us a lesson?" She's changed so much, actually. It wasn't that surprising. The reason she and Julian had been so arrogant before was solely due to the backing of Julian's father. Now that their support system had collapsed, these two monkeys naturally lost their capital for arrogance. According to Miss Chapman, Julian's father was also fired. Now, no school in the city was willing to accept Julian, so he could only return to his hometown to study. My previous endurance and patience had all been worth it. This time, I could finally break free from Julian Shaw completely. 17, I never expected Julian Shaw to show up and cause trouble again. During the college entrance exams, Ethan's testing site was at 3rd High, while Isabel and I were both assigned to 7th High. After finishing the last subject, Isabel and I planned to walk home together. Just as we stepped out of the school gate, Julian Shaw suddenly appeared from the crowd and grabbed Isabel's arm. "Mao, come home with me." Quickly, Isabel was stunned for a moment, then forcefully shook off his hand. "Are you crazy? We barely know each other. Why should I go home with you?" Julian Shaw looked frenzied. My heart instantly clenched, and an involuntary shiver ran down my spine. Could it be? Julian Shaw had also been reborn? My suspicion was quickly confirmed. The next second, Julian Shaw stepped forward again, trying to approach Isabel. "How could we not know each other?" Mao, you and I are legally married. We have a certificate. Be good, let's go home." He was smiling, but his eyes WERE Chinese letter ice cold. My body reacted faster than my brain. I shoved him away hard. Julian Shaw, not expecting me to dare touch him, stumbled back a couple of steps. He glared at me fiercely. "Almost forgot about you, you lowlife. If it wasn't for your meddling, Mao would already be with me. Everything that happened to me is your fault today. We'll settle the score." As he spoke, he pulled out a folding fruit knife from his pocket. Terrified, I grabbed Isabel's hand and turned to run back. Julian immediately took off after us. 18 Isabel and I escaped Julian Shaw's attack. There were police officers on duty at the exam site entrance. He failed to catch us and ended up being subdued himself. Julian Shaw was detained. Thanks to him, Isabel and I also had to go to the police station to give a statement. When we came out, my father and Isabel's parents were waiting outside. Ethan had also rushed over after hearing the news. "What happened? Are you two hurt?" I concealed the matter of Julian's rebirth, only suggesting he probably held a grudge against us and wanted revenge. For the following week, I was restless, constantly worried that Julian Shaw would come after us again once he was released. But what I didn't expect was that before Julian could retaliate against us again, he himself died first. Due to my previous report, Julian Shaw's father had become unemployed. He spent his days drinking at home and would become violent when drunk. The day Julian was released from the police station this time, Mr. Shaw once again assaulted Julian and his mother. Julian didn't swallow his anger silently as before. Ultimately, the father and son killed each other in a mutual assault. Only Mrs. Shaw survived, but she was left with a permanent disability. The next day, Isabel asked me out for a meal. She told me she had a disturbing dream the previous night, in which she had actually ended up with Julian Shaw. In the second year of their marriage in the dream, she accidentally discovered that Julian had framed Ethan for cheating back in high school. They had a huge fight over it. Isabel couldn't forgive herself, nor could she continue living with someone who had indirectly caused her friend's death. She asked Julian for a divorce. Enraged, Julian hit her. From then on, Julian became like a different person in the dream. He imprisoned Isabel, cut off all her contact with the outside world, turning her into his private possession. Isabel couldn't bear it any longer. After being caught trying to escape, she accidentally killed Julian Shaw. After listening to Isabel, I fell silent. I understood this might not have been just an ordinary dream, but Isabel's actual life from the previous timeline. So, in the last life, I wasn't the only one whose life was ruined by Julian Shaw. Thinking of this, I quickly grasped her hand and said seriously, "Maya Omeo, dreams are often the opposite of reality. You will have a wonderful future. Don't waste too much mental energy on a scumbag like him. It's not worth it." The man with the brutal, fleshy face was flushed red, his thick hands clamped tightly around my neck, choking the air out of me. I know. I haven't given him much thought. I just thought the dream was too bizarre and wanted to vent about it to you. You're great in every way, just sometimes a bit too sensitive. About 20 days later, the college entrance exam results came out. All three of us got into our desired universities. Isabel and I applied to universities in the south, while Ethan went north alone. The road ahead is still unknown, but I didn't feel lost. Just as sunny days always follow the rain, we who have weathered the storm will eventually become the adults we aspire to be. End.